Hi, I'm Meg Thomas. I'm a teacher at Erickson Elementary School in Ypsilanti. I love reading, I love science, I kind of love learning in general, and I have ever since I was really little. So I grew up way up in the UP where like almost no one lives, and I went to a really small elementary school called Roosevelt Elementary, but it did have one thing. It had a teacher named Ms. Benson who had a really big collection of books, and I read all of Ms. Benson's books. Then, later on, I started playing the piano, so I went to music school when I was in college. I went to University of Michigan Music School, and I got a BM, which is a Bachelor's of Music. But while I was teaching music, I started volunteering, teaching kids reading in another part of town, and I loved it. I looked forward to teaching kids reading instead of practicing piano, so I went back to school, and I got a degree from Boston College, way out on the East Coast, a master's in education with a specialty in working at schools like this. So I am so excited to be able to share these books with you guys. I love reading in school. The books that I'll be reading today are all about like science and math and my traditions. I'm very excited. I love to have fun. I love to make messes, and I love to read out loud. So looking forward to it. So I'm going to share a book I really love called Welcoming Elijah. Passover tale with a tale. Oh my gosh, tale is a story, but there's also an animal tale in here too. This is by Leslie and Newman, illustrated by Susan Gall. Now, one of the reasons I love this book so much is it's talks about a holiday called Passover, and that's a holiday that I celebrate too. It's a Jewish holiday celebrating survival and togetherness and escape out of slavery. And we know that there's so much unfairness and injustice in this world. And it's a time when we remember how we are capable of fighting against injustice wherever we find it, and that we can overcome injustice if we work together. And a part of this tradition is a big family meal called a Seder, and you'll hear that word in here, Seder. But my favorite part, and has been my favorite part of this holiday ever since I was a little girl, was leaving an extra seat at the table and an extra plate where no one is allowed to sit, because that is a seat for the prophet Elijah. And the tradition on Passover evening, on the night of the Seder, the tradition is that Elijah visits every Jewish household and stops by, drinks a little wine, spends a moment blessing the households, wishing them peace, and then moves on. Now, something does happen like this, but it's not quite what I expected. So this is called Welcoming Elijah, a Passover tale with a tale. Inside there was light, outside there was darkness, because Jewish holidays start when the sun goes down. So Passover doesn't start until it gets dark. Inside, it was warm. Outside, it was windy. Passover is usually in the early part of spring, and it's usually windy and rainy on Passover. Inside, there was laughter. Outside, there was silence. Inside, a boy hugged his family. Outside, a kitten sat alone. Inside, the boy waited for the Seder to start. Outside, the kitten waited for the moon to rise. Tonight would be different from all other nights. The boy knew this, and the kitten did too. Part of the Seder is some prayers, and the youngest person in the family asks some questions. And the first question every Seder, every year, the youngest person at the dinner table says, he asks, "How will tonight be different from all other nights?" And it is too for him and for the kitten. The Seder had many parts to it. The boy filled the prophet Elijah's cup and then sat down to wait for the part he loved best of all. Inside, candles glowed. Outside, stars twinkled. Inside, the boy drank grape juice. Outside, the kitten lapped at a puddle. Inside, the boy washed his hands. Outside, the kitten cleaned its paws. Still, the boy waited. Still, the kitten waited. Inside, the boy dipped parsley into salt water. And we do that to remember the tears that we cried when we were in slavery. Outside, the kitten chewed a wet blade of grass. Inside, the boy broke the middle matzah in half. When we escaped from slavery, the story says, we had to leave the land of the Pharaohs, that we couldn't even wait for the bread to rise, so the bread is so flat like a cracker and breaks very easily. Inside, the boy broke the middle matzah in half. Outside, the kitten split the twig in two. Inside, the boy heard the tale of the Israelites leading Egypt, the slaves leaving the land of the Pharaohs where they were trapped. Outside, the kitten heard leaves whispering in the trees. Still the boy waited. Still the kitten waited. Inside, the boy ate the festive Passover meal. Outside, the kitten ate nothing at all. Inside, the boy patted his full belly. Outside, the kitten swished its skinny tail. Inside, the boy sang songs of praise. Outside, the kitten mewls. Still the boy waited, and still the kitten waited. At last, one of the grown-ups said, "Let us now open the door to welcome the prophet Elijah, who will one day bring peace to the world." Inside, the boy sprang up from his seat. Outside, the kitten scampered up the walk. A square of lamplight spilled onto the porch. A beam of moonlight shone into the hall. Inside, the boy looked outside. Outside, the kitten looked inside. Elijah? Meow. And that is how Elijah found a home. The end. Oh my goodness. So I have so many connections to this book because it reminds me so much of celebrating Passover with my family, and reminds me of the times that I broke the matzah, and the time that I asked, how is this night different than all other nights? But I love how there's a twist at the end. How, we talk about Elijah at our seders, and usually no one's there, but this time there was someone. And it's about people and animals taking care of each other. And we could all take care of each other. So take care of each other. See you next time.